I'm Matthew Woodside, Director of Exhibitions and Chief Curator for the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature. And we're happy to be here today with you on Giving Tuesday. For those who weren't able to attend in person, we're happy to make kind of a short little video and talk about what we did today. The Bishop has 3 behind-the-scenes storage areas, and so Curator Tiffany and I went through and brought out some of the things that we thought were interesting, but also things that we could kind of make connections with, because as a natural history museum, that's what we're talking about all the time, is how we live in a very connected world, and we can trace how things have changed by making those connections. So where to start? And then we come over here to a very interesting piece that is a piece of galena, which is lead ore. Galena is still mined today for lead acid batteries and for plumbing and all kinds of purposes. But this piece was found in an archaeological site by Montague Tallant, who lived here in Bradenton in the 1930s. So this may have operated as kind of a magical piece, because it's 10 pounds, and it's small, but it's 10 pounds. And so anyone here in Florida would have never have seen something so dense, and it would have really been a wonderful thing. But when we did some analysis on it, we discovered that we knew that it didn't come from Florida. There is no native lead deposits in Florida. But through a isotope analysis at the University of Florida, we discovered that that lead ore has a signature that traces it to a mine in Missouri. We know from other analysis of other materials at that site that it was probably buried around 800 AD. And so how did it travel from Missouri to Cedar Key, Florida? We don't know, but it certainly serves as evidence that the people living in Florida thousands of years ago were not isolated, that they had very extensive trade routes, that things like this start to become that evidence to understand how did people live and how did they do things way back then. We're going to pass it over to our table next door with Tiffany Baracus, and she'll talk about all the wonderful things over there.
We'll get started on this end over here. We actually have in this vitrine here 2 objects that you may not initially think go together, but they actually have a story that connects them. We actually have the school bell from Mary Sawyer's school. Now, Mary Sawyer is actually the Mary from Mary Had a Little Lamb, the nursery rhyme. And many people probably think that's a fictional story, but it's actually based on a real person and a real story. Mary indeed did have a little lamb that followed her to school one day and actually wreaked a little havoc in the schoolhouse, and that's where the nursery rhyme was born. And we had that object donated to us, and we're able to steward it for everyone now. And it's a fantastic little piece of history from the early 19th century. And then next to it, we actually have this wax cylinder. And this is from an invention by Thomas Edison called the Ediphone, and it's kind of like an early dictaphone. And the first sample of that recording that Edison did was actually him recording Mary Had a Little Lamb. There's a beautiful connection between those 2 objects in the collection.
We're sorry you couldn't have been here today, but we hope that kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing, and you're certainly always welcome to come down and see these things in person whenever you'd like. Thank you.